Okay, so I want to take you back in time a bit. Picture it. It's 1922, Switzerland,
Mhm.
and you are Carl Jung. You are probably the most famous psychiatrist in the world, maybe the most controversial.
Right. You have this huge practice in Zurich, students, critics.
Yeah,
You're at the center of everything.
exactly, the whole intellectual circus. But then you do something that to everyone around you seems, well, frankly, a little insane. You buy some land in a tiny remote village called Bolanin.
And you don't build a nice little country house.
No, you build a stone tower.
And we're not talking about some rustic, cozy cabin here. This is primitive.
No electricity, no running water.
Just stone walls and oil lamps and silence.
His friends, they thought it was just a vacation spot. A place to get away from the city.
But they totally missed the point of what he was doing.
Completely. Jung wasn't retreating to escape his work. He was retreating because he physically couldn't do his most important work in Zurich.
And that distinction, that's really the launch pad for this whole deep dive today. He was trying to take on Freud's entire theory of psychology.
You don't do that between appointments.
You don't. You can't rewrite the book on the human unconscious while, answering letters and going to dinner parties.
Mhm.
He needed a very specific state of mind.
And that state is what we're calling deep work. We're diving into Cal Newport's research today, and I think we need to set the stakes right up front.
Okay.
This is not just another productivity hack. We're not talking about clearing your inbox faster. The core argument here is that the ability to focus, to go deep, is the skill that separates the winners from the losers in our economy today.
It's basically a survival skill now. I mean, if you look at the source material, there's a really clear economic argument. We're in what economists are calling the Great Restructuring.
Right. And that gap is widening, isn't it, between people who create real value and people who just move information around.
It's widening fast.
Yeah.
But before we get into the economics, maybe we should just nail down the definition.
Yeah, good idea. Because I think a lot of us confuse deep work with just, working hard.
Of course.
I can work really hard answering 400 emails in a day, but that's not deep, is it?
No, that's the perfect definition of its opposite, which is shallow work.
Okay.
Shallow work is all that non-cognitively demanding stuff. The logistical tasks, the scheduling, the emails, usually done while you're distracted.
It keeps the lights on.
It keeps the lights on, it keeps you employed, but it doesn't create new value. Deep work is very specific. It's professional activity done in a state of distraction-free concentration.
That pushes your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
That's the phrase. That's the key.
It's like the difference between a casual walk and a heavy deadlift at the gym. One just burns a few calories, the other actually builds new muscle.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the deep work hypothesis is that this brain deadlifting is getting rarer and rarer at the exact moment. It's becoming more and more valuable.
So let's talk about the value part. You mentioned the Great Restructuring. Who are the people who are actually winning in this new economy? The sources lay out 3 specific groups.
Right. If you want to thrive, you pretty much have to fall into one of these 3 camps. First, you have the owners,
The people with capital.
the people with the capital to invest in all this new technology.
Okay, well, I checked my savings account, and I don't think I'm in that group. So what's left for the rest of us?
That leaves the high-skilled workers and the superstars. And this is where it gets really interesting for most people.
High-skilled workers, what does that mean exactly?
It means people who can work with the intelligent machines. Think of someone like Nate Silver with his data models. He isn't just looking at polls.
No, he's building complex simulations, he's manipulating huge databases, he speaks the language of the machine.
He does. And as AI starts to take over more routine tasks, that ability to master complex tools, SQL, Stata, whatever it is, it becomes your ticket to the game.
So just knowing how to use Microsoft Word isn't going to cut it anymore.
Those days are fading. And then you have the superstars.
Okay.
This is a direct result of remote work and globalization. 20 years ago, if I ran a company in Chicago and needed a programmer, I'd hire the best programmer I could find in Chicago.
But now,
I can hire the best programmer in the world.
which is great for that one programmer, but it turns the job market into this brutal winner-take-all tournament. If you're just pretty good, you're suddenly not competing with your neighbor, you're competing with the best person in your time zone.
Exactly. And to survive in that arena, you need 2 core abilities. Number 1, you have to be able to master hard things quickly.
Learn the new software, the new coding language, whatever it is.
Fast. And 2, you have to be able to produce at an elite level. That means both quality and speed.
And the whole argument is that you literally can't do either of those things if your day is full of distractions.
It's biologically impossible. You cannot learn a complex news skill in 10-minute chunks between Slack messages. You just can't.
Which brings us to this big paradox. If deep work is the golden ticket, if it's the only way to join those groups, why isn't everyone doing it? Why are our offices basically designed to prevent it?
It's what the sources call the metric black hole.
Okay, what's that?
Think about an old-school factory assembly line. It is incredibly easy to measure productivity.
Right. If the line stops, you're losing money. You can measure that down to the second.
You can, but in a knowledge economy, that cost is invisible.
Yeah, if I spend my afternoon in back-to-back meetings and just firing off emails, I look really busy. I feel
Yes,
busy.
you feel very productive.
But I haven't actually produced any real new value. And there's no red light that flashes on my manager's desk that says value creation 0.
None. There was a case study at Atlantic Media where they actually calculated the cost of processing email. It was over $1 million a year in salary.
$1 million.
But until they measured it, that cost was just treated as 0. So without clear metrics, we all just default to the principle of least resistance.
We do what's easiest.
We do what's easiest, and we do what makes us look productive. Busyness is a proxy for productivity.
I send you an email, you reply in 30 seconds.
We both feel great.
Yeah.
We get a little dopamine hit. We're working.
Yeah.
We're just spinning our wheels.
So I want to get into the science of this because I think a lot of people just hear focus and think it's about willpower, about just trying harder. But the sources go deep into the neurology, specifically this stuff about myelin.
Myelin,
Yeah.
yes. This is the critical piece. If you really want to understand why distraction makes you less effective, you have to understand myelin.
Okay, break it down for us.
Think of the neural circuits in your brain like electrical wires. Myelin is a layer of fatty tissue that wraps around those wires. It's like the plastic insulation on a copper cable.
And insulation makes the signal stronger and faster?
Exactly. The more myelin you build around a specific circuit, the faster and cleaner that signal fires. That's basically what a skill is. Playing guitar, speaking a language, coding. Mastery is just a well-myelinated brain circuit.
So how do we get more of this myelin stuff?
This is the kicker. You only trigger the cells that create myelin when you fire that specific circuit repeatedly
And
and in isolation.
in isolation, there's the key word.
That's a key word. If you're trying to learn something complex, but you glance at your phone every 5 minutes, you're firing competing circuits. You're creating static. The brain never gets that clean signal to say, hey, this circuit is important, wrap it up.
Wow. So you're not just working slower, you are physically preventing your brain from getting better.
You are actively capping your own potential. And it gets worse.
Of course it does.
We have to talk about something called attention residue. This comes from the research of Sophie Leroy.
Okay.
She basically proved that there's no such thing as just a quick glance.
The big lie we all tell ourselves. I'll just check this one notification.
That exact lie. Leroy's studies found that when you switch from task A to task B, even for a moment, your attention doesn't switch over cleanly. A residue of your attention stays stuck on task A.
So even though I'm looking back at my report, part of my brain is still thinking about that email I just saw.
20% of your brain, maybe more, is still processing the old task. So if you're checking messages every 10 minutes, you are operating in a permanent state of cognitive handicap. You are never fully present.
You're intentionally making yourself dumber.
That's a blunt way to put it, but
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so the stick is pretty big here. Don't go deep, you hurt your brain, you become economically irrelevant. What's the carrot?
It's a life of deep work, actually. I don't know, a good life.
Yeah.
Jung's tower sounds kind of lonely.
You would think so, but the sources argue the exact opposite. They make a really strong case that deep work is a key ingredient for a meaningful life.
How so?
There's this wonderful story about a blacksmith, a guy named Rick Furr. He makes medieval swords the old-fashioned way. It's incredibly difficult, hot, loud work. But he talks about this deep, almost spiritual satisfaction he gets from, in his words, manifesting himself concretely. The feeling of holding something and saying, I made this. A feeling most of us in the digital world have completely lost.
We have. But you can get that same feeling from crafting a brilliant piece of code or a legal argument or a business strategy. It's about creating something of value from pure thought.
And there's another angle to this, right? The happiness angle.
Yes, from the writer Winifred Gallagher. She was diagnosed with cancer, and it led her to this profound realization. Who you are is what you focus on.
Wow.
She understood she could control her subjective reality by carefully managing her attention.
So if you spend your day focused on petty online drama and office politics, that literally becomes your life. Your reality is trivial.
But if you spend your day focused on solving a deep, engaging problem, that becomes your reality. And this lines up perfectly with Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow.
Right, the state of being completely absorbed in a task.
And his data is shocking. It shows people are consistently happier at work when they're in a state of flow than they are in their unstructured leisure time.
We're happier when we're challenged than when we're binge watching TV.
We are built for this. We are Homo sapiens depensis. The deep life is the good life.
Okay, I'm sold. I want the myelin, I want the flow, I want to be a superstar. But I'm not Carl Jung. I have a boss and a mortgage and a phone that never stops buzzing. How do we actually do this?
Well, you can't just try to be Jung. You have to find a system that works for your life. The sources lay out 4 different philosophies of scheduling deep work.
4 philosophies. Okay, what's number 1? The move to a stone tower option.
That's pretty much it. It's called the monastic philosophy. This is Donald Knuth, the legendary computer scientist. The man hasn't had an email address since 1990.
1990.
He is completely unreachable. He has eliminated all shallow obligations.
That sounds amazing, but also like a great way for 99% of us to get fired. What's the next option down?
The bimodal philosophy, this is actually what Jung did. He didn't live in the tower full time.
Oh.
He had his life in Zurich with patients and family, and then he had his deep work life in the tower. You clearly divide your time. Maybe you're on for 3 days and deep for 2, or you do it seasonally, like the Professor Adam Grant, who crams all his teaching into the fall semester so he can do deep research all spring.
That's more realistic, but still requires a lot of control over your schedule. What about a regular 9-to-5 person?
For them, it's probably the rhythmic philosophy. This is the Jerry Seinfeld method. Don't break the chain.
Don't break the chain.
You create a simple, repeatable habit. You just decide every single morning from 5:30 to 7:30, I do deep work. No exceptions. You make it a rhythm.
I like that. It takes the decision-making out of it. You don't wake up and wonder if you'll focus. You just do it.
It totally lowers the activation energy. And then finally, for the black belts of deep work, there's the journalistic philosophy.
Journalist.
Think of a journalist on a deadline. This is Walter Isaacson writing a massive book while he was the full-time editor of Time magazine.
How on earth did he do that?
He trained himself to switch into deep work mode on a dime. If a meeting ended 20 minutes early, boom, he'd pull out the manuscript and write. He could drop into a state of flow instantly.
That sounds incredibly hard.
It is. I would not recommend starting there.
Yeah.
You need a brain that's already highly trained for focus.
Okay, so let's say we pick the rhythmic method, we block out the time, but just sitting there isn't enough. The sources talk about the need for rituals.
Yes. You absolutely cannot rely on willpower alone. It's a finite resource. You burn through it all day.
So the ritual is a way to automate the process.
It's a trigger for your brain. It's about being specific. Charles Darwin had a super rigid daily schedule. For you, a ritual could be, I go to this specific location, I have this specific drink, I turn my phone completely off, and I set a timer for 90 minutes.
It signals to your brain, okay, the rules are different now. It's time to focus.
Exactly. It removes the friction of getting started. But sometimes you need to go even bigger.
It's the grand gesture.
This is J.K. Rowling struggling to finish the last Harry Potter book. Too many distractions at home. So what does she do?
She checks into a 5-star hotel.
She checked into the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh, paying a fortune for a suite, just to write.
And it wasn't about the fancy room service, was it?
No. It was about the psychological weight of that investment. By making this huge gesture, spending a lot of money or time or effort, you're telling your brain, this matters, this is important. It makes procrastination feel irresponsible.
So I have to ask, all this talk about towers and quiet rooms, does deep work mean you have to be a hermit? What about collaboration?
It's a great question. And no, it doesn't kill collaboration. In fact, the sources argue that the best model is what they call hub and spoke.
Hub and spoke. Explain that.
The hub is the open collaborative space, the whiteboard room, the coffee machine. That's where you have those random collisions that spark new ideas.
Serendipity.
Right. But then you need the spoke, the quiet, private office where you can go and develop that spark into a coherent thought. The problem with most modern offices is they are all hub.
We're just pinballs bouncing off each other all day.
All day. You need to be able to oscillate between the two modes. Go out, gather information, then retreat to process it deeply.
Okay, let's talk about training. Because even with a schedule and a ritual, my brain feels broken. My attention span was shot. How do you fix the underlying hardware?
You have to, and this is the hardest part for most people, you have to learn to embrace boredom.
Oh.
We have rewired our brains to expect constant novelty. If you pull out your phone every single time you're in a line for coffee, you're training your brain that boredom is intolerable.
Right, there was that research from Clifford Nass at Stanford. He found that heavy multitaskers actually lose the ability to filter out irrelevant information.
They can't turn it off. He called them mental wrecks. So the training rule is simple, but really hard to do.
What is it?
Don't take breaks from distraction. Take breaks from focus.
Flip the default?
Flip the default. So instead of being online all day with a few focus blocks, you are offline by default. And you schedule specific short blocks where you are allowed to use the internet.
And outside of those blocks?
You're offline. Even if you're just staring at the wall, you have to retrain your brain to tolerate the absence of input.
It sounds like going through withdrawal.
It is withdrawal.
All
It's
right.
the only way to heal your attention span. And if you want to accelerate that, you could do what the sources call Roosevelt dashes.
Teddy Roosevelt.
The man himself. At Harvard, he was into everything: boxing, politics, naturalism. He studied way less than his peers, but got better grades.
What was his secret?
Blistering intensity. He would look at an assignment that should take, say, 3 hours, and he'd give himself a hard deadline of 1 hour.
He created artificial pressure.
A pressure so intense that his brain had no choice but to focus. There was no time for daydreaming. It's like high-intensity interval training for your concentration.
Okay, so we're retraining our brains. We're embracing boredom. We have to address the elephant in the room, social media. The sources are not fans.
They're pretty ruthless, yeah.
Yeah.
The argument is that we need to abandon the any benefit mindset.
The idea that, well, I use it because it has at least some small benefit.
Exactly. I use Twitter because I get some news from it.
Hmm.
We latch onto one tiny justification to keep using a tool that, on the whole, is probably destroying our ability to focus.
So what's the alternative?
The law of the vital few. You have to do a cold, hard audit. Ask yourself, does this specific tool provide a substantial and positive impact on my highest level professional and personal goals?
And if the answer is, kinda, or not really,
You quit. Cold turkey.
that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. Okay, I want to finish on what I think might be the single most practical piece of advice in this entire deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
The shutdown ritual.
Ah, yes. This is absolutely non-negotiable. If you want to work deep, you must learn how to stop working.
Why is stopping so important? Isn't the whole hustle culture about never stopping?
It is, and it's completely counterproductive. There's a known psychological quirk called the Zeigarnik effect.
Okay.
It means that incomplete tasks dominate your attention. If you just close your laptop without closing the loops on your workday, your brain will keep chewing on those open tasks all night.
That feeling of low-level anxiety while you're trying to watch a movie with your family,
That's the Zeigarnik effect in action. So you need a ritual to shut it down.
what does that look like?
It takes 15 minutes. You do a final scan of your inbox for anything truly urgent. You review your to-do list and transfer any open items. And then you make a clear plan for what you're going to do tomorrow morning. You convince your brain that everything is captured and under control.
And then you do the slightly cheesy part.
You absolutely have to do the cheesy part. You say a specific phrase out loud like, shut down complete.
Shutdown complete. It sounds so silly, like you're a robot powering down.
It sounds silly, but that auditory trigger is powerful. It gives your brain explicit permission to disengage. Because that downtime isn't lazy. It's when your unconscious mind makes connections. It's when you restore the energy you need for deep work tomorrow.
So every time you check your work email at 9 p.m.,
You're not just doing a minute of shallow work. You're stealing high-quality energy from tomorrow's deep work.
wow, that's a perfect way to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring it all together, the world's getting louder, the economy is demanding more, and that comfortable middle ground is vanishing. We have a choice. We can float along in the shallows, being reactive and distracted.
Or we can build the skill of going deep. And it's not just about being more productive. It's about building a life that feels more real. A deep life is a good life.
I love that. So here's the challenge for you listening. Tonight, just try the shutdown ritual. Make your plan for tomorrow, close the laptop, and actually say the magic words. See what it feels like to truly turn off.
And then tomorrow, maybe you can find your first 30 minutes to go deep.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.